He said, no, no, no.
Not at all.
All right, we got about 5 seconds. Get it like you mean it. Good evening. I'll call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. Generous and gracious God, we're grateful for so many gifts that we're blessed to live and work in this community. We're grateful for public servants who serve all of us so well. God, all those in leadership role, and especially of this council as we meet tonight, that we may give honor and glory to your name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Keeling, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1. Here. Jay Stepp, Ward 2. Louis Tonsmeyer, Ward 3.
Here.
Lindsay McDaniel, Ward 4.
Here.
Diane Tate, Ward 5. Here. Lori Pruitt, Ward 6.
Thank you, Connie. First order of business is the approval of our council meeting minutes from November 6th. Council, you've had these well in advance of tonight. Chair will entertain any edits, additions, deletions, corrections, or motions.
Mayor, didn't see any corrections, deletions. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We have a first reading item, a zoning and annexation request, SU 14-03. Mr. Menino, if you'll get us started with that, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you had noted, this is a special use permit application by Mark Harris, representing Check into Cash. This property has been properly advertised and posted. The request is for the old Harley-Davidson building located at Tennessee Street and MLK Drive. Its last use was, I guess, a restaurant supply company, a restaurant equipment supply company. Right now, the current Tuttle Pond location is located at 319 North Tennessee Street. It's basically being relocated to this particular location. With that, and based on our ordinance requirements, we made this type of use not an allowed by right use, but with an approval of a special use by council to be able to move forward in our 2010 zoning ordinance amendment. With that, Planning Commission heard this request. The applicant had stated as part of his application that they would have no outdoor storage associated with this business, and the Planning Commission went ahead and made that a recommendation for the approval and did recommend this for your approval.
Okay. Any questions for Randy on this item at this time? Thank you, sir. I'll open a public hearing relative to case SU 14-03. Anybody wishing to step forward, speak for or against may do so at this time. And when stepping forward, if you would please give your name and your address for our clerk, please.
I will, thank you. I'm Mark Harris. I reside at 29250 State Route 113, Taylorsville. Hadn't been there long. I'm just here to field any questions that might come up out of this application.
Okay, thank you. And if there are no questions, anybody else wishing to step forward, speak for or against may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing relative to case 14-03. Council, this is a first reading. We'll take this up for final consideration at our next meeting, which will be November the 20th, I believe. Oh, that's tonight. Interesting. We'll take that up for final consideration. Our first meeting in December, which is the morning meeting, December the 4th. Yes, thank you. Next item is the ad valorem taxes for Main Street. Mr. Grove?
Yes, this is relative to the new TAD, Tax Allocation District on East Main Street. Council needs to consent to the approval by the city schools and by the county relative to capturing that tax increment out there. There are two resolutions attached. It's kind of a point of business. Connie, you might want to include a signature block on the county's resolution, because there's not one down there as presently is, but there is on the other one. Anyway, council needs to consent to the approval of these two resolutions. It's a requirement of the TAC.
Okay. Are there any discussions to be had about this item? If there's none, a motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda relative to an EIP grant has been removed from the agenda. We'll take that up at a later date. Mr. Porter, you've got a resolution that we need to discuss now on Freeport.
Yes, Mayor and Council. This is a Freeport exemption. We're currently at 60%. This is helps with economic development. It's a exemption of certain class of inventory as allowed by state law. The City Council has been increasing this over the past couple of years, and this resolution will make this as effective of January 1st, 2015 to 80%. Again, this is the Cartersville School Board has approved this increase, and it will help with economic development.
Okay. Questions or comments?
Mayor, we discussed this during the work session. This has been something we've talked about for a number of years and incrementally are making it happen. You said this was important because for economic development. It's such a big,
Absolutely. That's one of the first things that companies will be looking at when they're looking at communities is whether or not they got 100% Freeport. County went to it a few years ago. We approached the school board a few years ago about going up at 20% increments to make it happen. They did so willingly and it actually encouraged the process along, and they actually passed a resolution to kind of show that they're unified in this effort with us.
so it's not just distribution companies that might be interested in this, but any company
It's
that would
any-
have.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's actually applicable to existing companies as well. It helps them out.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Connie, you have the next item, our election results.
Yes, sir, this is the election results from the November 4th, 2014 general election. We had a question pertaining to the Parks and Recreation Facilities bond. Total number of votes was 4540. Yes was 3053. No was 1487. There is a resolution that goes with this that is required by the bonding company, and I recommend approval.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on this item?
It is saying that 32% of our supposedly voting people did not vote.
It's saying that of the people that voted, that 68% of the people said yes and 32% said no, roughly.
Okay.
Probably a lot more than that didn't vote.
And there was about a
What was turnout?
27% turnout, I believe.
So a lot of people didn't vote.
Let's see.
Mayor, this resolution also approves filing for the bond issue that was approved by the election, stated in the resolution.
Okay, thank you. There's no other discussion. The motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Anderson, you got the next couple.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. This first one is a grant application to the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. This is, it's a recreational trails grant. The grant purpose is to put amenities at our new canoe kayak launch. Amenities would include restrooms and a covered pavilion. At this time, I do not have a finalized budget for this grant, but it will not exceed $80,000. And of that, the required match for the city of Cartersville for this grant is 20%, which would be $16,000 if it was $80,000, and that money would be budgeted, or hopefully budgeted, in the 15-16 recreation budget. And I recommend approval of the attached resolution and ask the mayor to sign any and all related documents for the grant application.
Ready for a motion?
Absolutely.
I move that it be approved.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Go ahead, Greg.
Yes, sir, Mayor. This next is a letter with the passage of the bond referendum. We had, kind of been dragging our feet because we were unsure of the funding source, or even if our two grants could be funded. And this letter, it is addressed to DOT, and it says that we are still interested in following up on these grants and complying with what DOT asked us to do. And I've got a layout, for those of you that don't remember that this project's been so long in the making. This is the Leak Mounds Trail. The bottom right corner, the yellow trail there is Sam Smith Park, which will be the which will start this trail going along Milner Road, crossing Cummings Road, going out Walnut Grove Road at the top right. That's crossing Pettit Creek and going in behind Monitor Corporation, and we'll have a trailhead there. The yellow trail there is the Leak Mounds Interpretive Trail, and it will all end at the trailhead where the canoe kayak launch is. So that'll be a trailhead for three things: the canoe kayak launch, this proposed trail, and the Leak Mounds Interpretive Trail. And then the next trail is the Pettit Creek Trail Phase 3. At the top, the green trail, that's the existing Pettit Creek Trail Phase 2. It stops at Mission Road. If you go right or east, the red line, that is the sidewalk that attaches to the downtown sidewalk. This concept takes us along. We'll go south along Pettit Creek, cross Pettit Creek, cross Nancy Creek, come into there at Burnt Hickory, and then tie into the sidewalk system in front of McDonald's. And that is the Pettit Creek Trail Phase 3. And I ask that Mayor be allowed to sign this letter to Georgia DOT that we are still pursuing this grants.
Mayor, I have a question. Greg, can you share with me, is there parking for the Pettit Creek Trail?
There is not parking. Right now, the parking is, our trailhead starts at the Goodyear Clubhouse. That is our trailhead right now.
Okay, I'm following that then.
Okay. Questions, comments, or motions?
Map helps, thanks.
Yes.
Hey, just out of curiosity, since we're talking about, you know, the upgrades and the finishing out of projects, have we done a study on what the cost of maintenance on these trail systems will be like 5 years from now, what you expect that maintenance cost to be?
Well, I can tell you, I know what for these particular trails, no, but I will say that the Pettit Creek Trail Phase 2, the maintenance on it as far as mowing it, and then again, this section of trail, or these trails, are designed because Pettit Creek floods, removing the sand on it, and right now to mow that for the season, it's around between $2,500 to $3,000 a year for mowing and then again, if we have flooding problems, then that's extra, removing the sand from those. But we will have or we do have equipment that we'll be purchasing to assist in doing that. We'll be hopefully purchasing a broom, a utility vehicle that has a broom attachment, so we can sweep the sand off of it.
Awesome. I was just curious.
Okay, are there questions? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Greg. Mr. Osborne.
Thank you, Mayor. Property owner at 30 Top Ridge Drive purchased the property in March 2011. At the same time, she participated in the city first-time $10,000 home buyer 5-year forgivable loan program. That's a federal program that we have partnered with in the past, the Community Housing Improvement Program, CHIP. That funding has run its course, but some of the last participants who came in 2010, 2011 are still on that 5-year time frame. This property owner wishes to sell because it's less than 5 years. After March 2011, she's going to have to pay back the remaining balance to the city, and she's willing to do that. City Attorney's Office has reviewed the quitclaim deed to release the lien off the property and has no objections.
Thank you. Motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Riggs. Mr. Jones, you're on deck.
Yes, Mayor. This is our 2015 membership dues for the Utility Protection Center, and it's in the amount of $7,869.74.
Okay, any questions for Gary on this item? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Gary.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. The Etowah Drive water main, we need an engineering, we have requested an engineering change order. That amount is for $17,400, and that was for the study of an insertion valve tool that was necessary to fully execute this project. As you know, that went through some of the older parts of town, some of the oldest lines that we have, and what this allowed us to do was insert a valve literally where we need it. Because we knew that some of these older valves were not going to work properly. It allowed us to avoid unplanned shutdowns, change orders from the contractor, because we could get a positive water stop and make the tie-ins as needed. So I would ask your approval of that change.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Continue on, Bob.
This would be the US 41-411, all the interchange improvements, road improvements that are going on there. As originally scoped by DOT, we were going to have to move 1,400 feet of our 36-inch water main. Due to changes in the scope of the work and regulations, now there are drainage changes that have been made out there, the upshot of which is now we're going to be moving an additional 1,400 feet of 24-inch pipe. That has to be designed, and this is the cost of that design. It came in at $31,900.
Lovely. All right. No fault of our own.
None.
So, any questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue.
Center Road, 24-inch gravity sewer. We are doing some line improvements to the sewer out there. The design came back, and the way it was designed, we took a look at it. The line was essentially going to be replaced where the existing line is now, and in that alignment runs along a drainage ditch. And we made the decision that some of you are aware, the waters of the state issue that's come up, that there was an opportunity here to change that alignment and place the line in a different area that would be better for us accessibility-wise, maintenance-wise down the road. It gives us an improved design, essentially easier to maintain, lower cost long-term. And the net of those design changes was $19,100. So I would ask your approval for that.
Okay. Discussions or motions on that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue on.
Last up for me, we need to rework our polymer feed system at the wastewater plant. This is a system that essentially it mixes a chemical that we combine with wastewater, and it allows the solids to release from the water so that we get a higher percentage cake. And what happens is we wind up hauling more of the stuff we want to get rid of and less water, so it makes us more efficient. This system was put in 1992. It stays in sort of a damp area where the dewatering process takes place, and it's corroded, and it's getting harder to find parts and to maintain. And we feel like this is a very necessary efficiency upgrade that we need to make. We are substituting this project for a budgeted project, so it will be a budget funded project. It's just a priority shuffle on our part. So we took bids. Fox Systems came in at the low bid of $28,500 and would ask your approval for that bid.
Okay. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Bob, have we had any fines because of environmental issues with this?
We haven't yet. As we stated in the work session, in April, we did have a permit violation. That was reported, and we have not been fined as a result of that. That violation was a combination of things. This is one of them. This is what allows us to get rid of solids in the plant, and when we come into the springtime, we land apply our solids. If it's too wet, we can't get in the field. So we have a very limited number of days during that damp spring that we can spread. And when we have an opportunity to spread, we need this system to work. We don't need to be working on it. We need to get solids out of the plant. we got loaded up with solids because we had a relatively wet spring. Plus, this system broke down on us multiple times on days where we were trying to get stuff out of the plant, and it really hamstrung us on being able to make the most out of the few days we had. And that's what rose it to the level that it's at now, is we decided, you know, this really needs to be fixed.
Okay. Anyone else?
Motion to approve. Excuse me.
Go ahead, I'll do a second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. Mr. Porter, you got the next item, please.
Yes, Mayor and Council, the Chief Carter recommends approval of an invoice with SiteMed to conduct the annual firefighter physical exams for his department. Its cost is $19,003. It's actually going to be reimbursed with our Cigna Wellness Funds. It's part of our Cigna plan, and I recommend this for your approval.
Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Motion
Actually,
to
I need to get a
approve.
motion.
You do need a motion.
I was gonna do that backwards.
Motion to
How about a motion? There we go, got a motion, then what happens after that? A second, right?
Second.
All right, everybody- now we vote on it, right? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Sorry about that. Connie, you have the next item, please.
Yes, Mayor, the sound system here in the council chambers has not worked properly for some time, and
What?
it's not very nice. And I got with the IT department and had them evaluate our needs, and they have recommended a system purchase and installation from Telenet Systems for a total of $5,504.50, and I recommend approval.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Brunhart. Honorable Mayor and Council, this is an invoice from Cogsdale. Cogsdale is our third-party billing software. The invoice is for $65,339.33. Represents a 6.7% increase over last year's invoice. I did talk with the Director of Support, Kelly Skinner with Cogsdale, and she assured me that they were not gouging us, that it was being fairly given to pass along to all the excuse me, all the software people that they use their software. I recommend the approval of the invoice for Cogsdale in the amount of $65,339.33. This is a budgeted item, and I'll have all the E-Verify information on file. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Tom on this item? If there are none, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Reinhardt, the financial report, please. Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor and Council, tonight we'll be looking at the financial information for September 2014 and comparing it to September 2013. In the general revenue, or the general fund, revenues increased over last year by $292,000. Expenses increased by $308,000. This is due mainly to increased personnel and increased operating expenses. 3 years of revenue I look at, you'll be happy to note again that the local option sales tax, instead of going down, this month it continues to increase. We have an increase this month over last year, $137,000. Police fines and forfeitures have a decrease of about $800. Building permits and inspection fees have an increase of $13,000. In the water and sewer fund, the revenues increased over last year by $453,000, while the expenses increased by $20,000. This is due mainly to a couple of combinations. Increased personnel expenses coupled with a decreased operating expenses and decreased debt service. In the gas fund, revenues increased over last year by $108,000. Expenses increased by $730,000. This is due to increased operating expenses, increased cost of purchased gas, and increased capital expenses. In the electric fund, revenues increased over last year by $888,000. Expenses increased by $783,000. This is due to increased personnel, increased operating, and increased cost of purchased electricity. And in the stormwater fund, revenues decreased from last year by $30,000. This is due to, if you remember last year, we were working with a pre-disaster mitigation grant. That grant went away this year. The expenses also decreased by $23,000. This is due mainly to decreased capital expenses, also the pre-mitigation disaster grant. In the solid waste fund, revenues increased from last year by $9,000, and the expenses decreased by $25,000. This is due mainly to decreased personnel expenses. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues increased by $16,000.
and expenses have increased by $24,000. This is due mainly to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and increased capital expenses.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other questions on the financial report this evening?
Just a couple comments. You'll note that we've had a little cold snap here. Gary assures me he's selling gas. That'll probably take care of the deficit in the gas over the course of the winter. Property tax comes in late in the calendar year, and that'll probably take care of the deficit in the general fund. Everything else is positive.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom. Any other business that needs to come before council this evening? You got anything?
Well, Mayor, we have a bunch of our firemen here, and they certainly look in good shape, and we hope our wellness will help you gentlemen. Here, it's Thanksgiving.
It is.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too. No, on behalf of council, I don't like to speak for all the time. We wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving. A lot of folks will be on the road, and while you're enjoying turkey, a lot of the folks that work for the city, especially our public safety folks, will be hard at work and making sure that they're there if you should you need them. Hope you don't. Hope you all have a very boring shift if you got to work on those holidays. And we got a lot going on. Very good. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Adjourn.